Shane Ardern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rise in support of the Fisheries Foreign Charter Vessels and Other Matters Amendment Bill. Following on from my colleague on the Primary Production Select Committee, some of the points that were made are absolutely correct. The history of this bill, or the gestation period of this bill, if you like, is a long one. And as I remember it, Graham Kelly introduced a members' bill. So it wasn't the Labor government bill, but it was a members' bill that Graham introduced as a member who was concerned about these issues, and it's basically morphed from there. I'm not exactly sure of the passage of that bill, where it went or what happened, but ultimately we're here today as a result of the concerns raised way back then. Successive governments, and including the previous government over its whole 9 years, were not convinced that there was sufficient evidence of wrongdoing in these foreign chartered vessels to introduce such legislation as we have now. But just recently, inquiries, in fact a ministerial inquiry or a panel was set up based on the amount of anecdotal evidence that had come forward, that clearly there was something that we needed to look at. And if you think about the opportunity for New Zealand fisheries, with our exports of high-quality protein from New Zealand, I think probably as much as anything, a reputation issue was starting to develop about what actually was being used or what sort of terms and conditions these people were working under in regard to the harvesting of what is a potentially strong and growing industry for New Zealand, and already is in the billions of dollars worth of exports. So the Select Committee was charged with a number of issues to look at, and one of the, I guess, biggest concerns we had were if we were to reflag all or force all chartered vessels to have New Zealand flag, what potential effect that could have on some of the smaller and developing industries or fisheries in this regard. And so many submitters had a concern that if we were to go where we have gone now, it would potentially close some of these smaller industries down. And obviously that wasn't in the best interest of New Zealand Inc. or what the committee was trying to achieve. So an enormous amount of consideration was actually put into that, and ultimately we arrived at a position where it has been concluded that reflagging all of these foreign chartered vessels is the only way to ensure that, one, people that work on these vessels will come under New Zealand terms and conditions in terms of employment, that New Zealand observers will be able to be on these boats in sufficient numbers and on regular enough occasion to be sure that what is being put forward in various logbooks, etc., is reasonably accurate, and they are able to look at other things as well, such as environmental pollution through oil spillage, etc., and also make sure that the treatment of staff or the crew on these boats, as the member who previously resumed his seat said, these conditions are tough. This is a tough environment, a hard place to work, and these observers would be able to have a look at and observe the conditions in which they work in. There was a reasonable amount of evidence that recruitment agencies from overseas were recruiting people that were in unfortunate circumstances, clicking the ticket, if you like, or taking from them substantial percentages of their pay. In fact, some of them not being paid at all for long periods, and leaving a lot of families and a lot of people destitute. So by reflagging and bringing these chartered vessels foreign chartered vessels under New Zealand jurisdiction, all of that behaviour now can be stamped out to the best that it's possible for that to happen. Some submitted that other countries had various other mechanisms which didn't require the full reflagging, and in fact some submitted that in the case of a vessel that broke down or had some mechanical problems or engineering problems or other such, and would need to be replaced by another boat quickly to capture the migratory species that they were trying to capture under quota management, reflagging would be too much of a imposition on them. They wouldn't be able to do it in time, and therefore that fishery opportunity would be lost. The committee wasn't on balance convinced of that. We certainly spent a lot of time thinking about it, and ultimately we've ended up where we've ended up. So the Primary Production Select Committee agrees that the bill is necessary to ensure the health and safety requirements of all fishing vessels in New Zealand, and importantly, we also agree that the bill will ensure human rights of crew working on these vessels will be protected to a standard that's acceptable to maintain what we see as human decency and what we see as in the best interest of New Zealand's reputation. I look forward to the passage of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Darian Fenton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure to take a call in this second reading and to register Labour's support for this bill as we hopefully begin